What's up? We back. Another season. Good to see y'all. This is y'all boy Texas Jayhawk tapping in for the first episode, season 2 of Just Talking Ball. And of course, I got my sidekick, got my boy, my favorite Longhorn right here, Eric Foster. What's going on, man?
Oh man, oh happy days.
It is, man. Well, we're back, man. I'm excited about what we got up for this season, what we're gonna talk about.
So we've been working, we've been
Oh,
grinding.
now we are in a little different, different mode. I'm alone representing the Big 12, and now Eric, he's talked about it for this whole last season. Now he is officially a member of the SEC. I saw your face. I dare you to say it. I can go there punching you.
I won't even call it the mid 12 today.
Yeah, you just did. Nah, it was good, man. It's good to see you.
Hey, the Big 12 is what 1-0 against the SEC so far. So I don't have a lot to say about it.
It's early, and we're gonna get into all of that, man. And just to tap in to see what we're gonna talk about. This is what's on our agenda, man. Of course, we're happy to be back to see everyone. Hope y'all tune in. We got two little trending topics. I don't know. This first topic could have been what he's mad about, but I definitely want to hear Eric's take on the Texas versus Tennessee abbreviation or nickname dispute that came about in media days at SEC. And then, for all our old heads like me to the young ones like Eric, NCAA football 25 came out, man. And it's been a 10-year wait, and I mean it was worth the wait, but we'll talk about who's been winning and losing about that. We'll talk about what are you mad about. We'll go over the Texas-Michigan game, the Kansas-Illinois game. We'll do a chalk talk as usual, and then predictions for this week's game, man. So, man, let's get right into it, man. So, tell me what your opinion is about this whole Tennessee Texas dispute. Who gets the abbreviation? Who's known as UT? Because I've been around football all my life, and it's safe to say you have too. And my take on it, when I think of UT, I think of Texas. Just like when I hear USC, I think of Southern California, not South Carolina. So, tell me what your take is on that.
This is one of those things. It's been a non-issue for me for a while. I think we announced we were going to SEC almost 3 years ago. And this was, the fringes and the message boards. This was all we're the real, I'm a logical person. I tend to try to be fact-based, and even the crazy things I say, I try to be, I try to find some logic in there somewhere. So for this, you follow the logic. We're in a season right now where, in politics and everything, I encourage everybody to do their own research. So in this, I encourage you to go do your own research. Who was established first? Who came up with the logo first? Who came up with the slogans first? Who's won the most games? You look at head-to-head matchups. You look at NFL picks. You look at All-Americans. You look at anything just about, and I'm probably missing something, and there's probably some, fringe thing that Tennessee is better than Texas in that I missed. Right now we'll give them baseball, and that's temporary. But even the overall historical, aspect of Texas baseball versus Tennessee baseball, it's not close. Texas football, Tennessee football, it's not close. I'll give them the edge in women's basketball, and we're big women's basketball guys, so that's not at all a slight. No Pat doubt. Summitt, one of the greatest basketball coaches, period.
Yeah.
So any sport that's not women's basketball, probably going to give the edge to the University of Texas. But this is something I hope gets settled on the field, right? A lot of almost all the SEC schedules have come out. So I think football is going to be one of the only sports where the two teams do not play. So I look forward to that. I think men's basketball goes to Knoxville. The Lady Vols come to Austin. We're going to dump truck them in volleyball. We're going to dump truck them in softball, all these other sports. So, I encourage people to do your own research and come to this opinion yourself. But at the end of the day, I'm one of those, a famous saying amongst us, and we'll talk about NCAA football here in a minute, but as long as the outcome is income, so they can have it.
Yeah.
If we get everything else, if we get the championships, if we get the money, if we continue to roll as we have as an athletic department, they can have it.
Well, and that is a great take. That is a great answer, but it's a little surprising me knowing you because you're a guy I know that you want it all. You don't want to give them nothing, and for you to give that up so eloquently and just so you put yourself together, you articulated your thoughts. You wasn't hateful about it. One jab, but that's growth. It's season 2, baby, and that's growth. So yeah, yeah.
At the end of the day, it doesn't, and maybe it's one of those things you can. It's like if you take $100 from somebody and you're like, here's a quarter, go buy yourself something nice. That's kind of what that
And
is,
there
right?
it is. He's back.
You literally have it all. I think they're probably, maybe if I'm being generous and Nico, I'm gonna leave it to you, stays for till his junior year.
Mm-hmm. He's balling.
They're probably in a world, because in that world, Arch Manning is gone. So we're probably in a KJ Lacey, some transfer portal quarterback era. Maybe they'd be competitive in the world 3 years from now. But today, in any way that actually matters, it's not close. So the wolf can't start to concern themselves with the opinion of sheep.
Oh, well, that's his take.
That's what you want. That's what you wanted to pull out of me. You got it.
You know what I was thinking throughout this whole thing? Like, I'm kind of glad you're gone and you're in the SEC, but you always find a way to jab at my Jayhawks. But like, it felt good to see some new blood on the floor. So we're gonna move on, man.
We'll get there. I got a couple things for you too.
I know you do, but I'm here for it. I'm here for it. But yeah, moving on. So, man, NCAA football came out, is out. I'm a big video game guy. I know you're a big video game guy, and I mean, just the presentation, the graphics of it. You and I have talked about it for a while. In my life, going back from, I'm gonna age myself, man. From like, middle school, 9th grade, I first started playing Bill Walsh's college football. And from there on, man, I was, for lack of a better word, a champ, and I didn't take many L's and I took it personal. And I won a lot of games, tournaments, things like that. I was at midnight releases. I love the game, just, not just because it's football, but just because, it's a great presentation. I wanted to go play college football, and you got to, play as yourself on the game, at times, even though we didn't have all the big NIL that we do now. You could create a player, or they just have the number and that's who it is, so I'm aging myself with that a little bit. But yeah, man, I played Eric a couple of times. Actually, there's a tournament going on that I am out of currently, double elimination. I took 1 L to another guy, and my last one was to Eric on a last-second field goal. All that matters is how you win, but, he really – I'll say it right now on air. The head-to-head, he's got the upper hand by a significant amount, but – it's not like I'm just getting blown out the water. I'm not going to sit here and just concede to say, I'm just terrible at it. So anybody that want to play me, I'm here for it. But in all fun, it's been a fun game. Tell me what your experience has been with NCAA. We got some of the guys out there. I hope they see it too. The group. I hope the group sees it too.
I haven't put this much time and effort into a video game since maybe Grand Theft Auto 4. Because what is it, 5 now? So I think the one before that, Grand Theft Auto 4, was when I called out of work for 3 days, and we were nuts. I was younger then. But man, this game has. I'm going to come at it from a different angle, right? Because you talked about the win-loss record. I don't have to do that. But from a camaraderie perspective, I've got friends in long relationships. I've got friends with new kids. I've got friends, married, right? We don't get to spend as much time together as we would all like to. But then here comes this game that brings us together 2 to 3 nights a week for 3+ hours a night, where we're all together, all on the headset.
No doubt.
I'll call it playful banter.
Yeah.
But to an outsider, it probably sounds like anything but.
Oh man, I'm criminal, borderline criminal, toxic.
Stuff that if you heard it on the street, you're probably in a fist fight.
But it is all in fun. I'm the new guy in the group, so it is all in fun.
So man, it's a really exciting time. It's a thrill. And you even experienced this as a Kansas fan today, to be a true fan of a program and your team be good on this
Oh,
game,
they're real good. They're real good. They're
makes
real
it
good.
so much fun.
You're right. You're exactly right.
Because it almost makes you feel closer to the team, because you have a sense, or you think at least you have a sense of what guys can and cannot do. Probably makes you a little angry too, because then here come guys that will, I'm the biggest Texas fan you ever meet. Somebody will play me with Texas. They'll do something, and I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I seen it. I seen him in practice. That guy
I've
can't
been
do that,
watching them.
right?
Yeah, I've been watching.
But it's also fun to watch it, and a lot of the it's one of the most realistic games I've ever played. Because again, you just watch Saturdays, you watch how guys get crazy tip interceptions, you watch how guys fumble out of nowhere, you watch how a guy will put a big hit on somebody and they won't catch the ball. So you see all these things that maybe 4 weeks ago had you pissed.
And you're right. And the biggest difference I think now is because everything's networked and online. There's forever updates, so it stays current. There's not like, oh, I wish this had it. Enough people complain about it, or if something happens, or if it's a big enough hoopla, it's going in the game. And you got to wait for the updates. But for the record, my Kansas teams ain't never been sorry, because when it was creative player and I can mess with those rosters, we always been good.
David Wimber's been in '99, huh? Oh, okay, touche.
But no, realistically, no. But yeah, just to cap that off, man, it has been fun, man. It's rejuvenated a lot of things, and guys, competitive guys take it seriously, man. And Eric will tell you, I'm the quietest one in the chat, just because I know about 4 or 5, maybe at the most, of those guys, but I think it's a group of 12, and boy, it's flagrant. It's flagrant out there, boy. And right now I'm not in a position to be able to back it up with the game, so I just stay in my lane.
All are welcome. Bring your Apple Pay with you. All are welcome.
We here on the show, Just Talking Ball, do not condone any type of gambling in any type of fashion.
If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800. Stop it.
For the record, Eric will tell you, I ain't playing for no money. I am not. I got my own problems. But
you and I don't have. I do it because it makes the game more fun.
Yeah, and it's a different
guys
type of pride.
Guys that are naturally competitive, how you just talked about with the UT thing. I'm a natural person that doesn't want to give you an inch if I don't have to.
See, there it is.
In anything, so the money doesn't really make a huge difference to me, other than it doesn't hurt me worse when I lose it, but when I win it, it does feel like it twists the knife just a little bit more. So it makes it really fun.
And that's it, man. Like I say, when I'm with you and I see some of those guys, I can hold my head up, because I beat at least 2 of those guys, and there was 2 good players that has gotten real good. Has beaten you at times. But I took a L to a guy, that he's got some games. So
nobody's
I was gonna say there are no easy
nobody's
wins.
Bad to the point to where it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
There are guys that you're definitely better than, Shannon. That will beat you, two or three more times than you would like. We played a game last night. I had gone out to a debate party, had a couple, came home,
and the thread was on fire.
Came home and he baited me into a game, and we played, and I'm losing. I'm seeing double. I think I threw 4 picks, and I'm like, I'm literally headed to a loss. He runs the ball. He played with Texas, right? Jaden Blue cut up the field for 24 yards. I tackle him from behind, and as I'm getting ready to throw my controller down, because the game's over at this point, it's a first down with 42 seconds left. I only had 2 timeouts, so game's over. So literally, as I'm getting ready to throw my controller down, I drunkenly hit L1 and strip him, and he fumbles the ball. And I go on to win the game 24-17.
Oh my gosh, Shano, my boy. Sorry about that one. We're gonna give you some love on the show, Shano. That's messed up, man. And
I think what we should do for the fans going forward for our weekly show, we'll just recap. We'll just post the scores of whatever games I have played.
I'm good with that. See, y'all see his face, huh? Y'all see his face, yeah.
Just to add a little different dynamic. If I lose, doubtful. If I lose, though, I can take it.
Bet that. Well, we can go on. We're not gonna hold y'all, but moving on. So that, like I say, that's a couple of topics we wanted to hit on. So we're gonna continue to talk about, and it's early in the season, but what are you mad about? Is there anything off the top of your head right now, Eric, that you're just mad about in the sports world? Something that relates to sports, something that's just, I don't know, just ruining your day, or got you feeling a certain type of way.
I'm a little mad. I'm a big believer in, and if you, and I deal with this in my professional life a lot. But if you fight for something and you get it, to relinquish it so easily, it just frustrates me a lot. So, I'm looking at pro athletes right now, and they fought so hard in the wake of all the political unrest during COVID and all this for a seat at the table, and to encourage all of these, major institutions to get involved, um, you know, to get involved and to do all these things. And then here we are, right in the midst of a consequential political season, and everybody's like, oh, we have the power now, so it's not a thing, and no one's using their influence, and that's a little frustrating to me, because I'm just a big believer in whatever you believe in. As long as you are educated on it, as long as you truly believe it, I think it is your right to stand on those things, and encourage people to come to those own conclusions themselves, and just to see the lack of involvement. That's kind of what I'm mad about today.
Now, that's, hey, my boy came deep with it. I, I I say I'm a simple man. I'm really not, but simplistically, I'm still mad about Kansas losing to Illinois. I take those with me. I'm not the sky's falling, or it's over. But when you beat yourself, it's frustrating. And like I said, we're at a crossroads of Kansas football where expectation is up. Other people outside of the fan base look at games like, oh man, Kansas should win that. In some, we're going to get into it. In some places, some people have Kansas winning the Big 12 this year. So I mean, just those type of expectations, and those glimpses of greatness, show and flash. And then, not to take anything from Illinois, but I'm talking about Kansas, and I'm just upset about that. But that's a segue. We'll go
I'll,
into it.
I'll I'll touch on that just a little bit, as a fellow alum of a team that should have beat a Brett Bielema head coached team. It's frustrating. I can only imagine. I didn't get a chance to. I watched the highlights, obviously, prepping for the show today, but I didn't get a chance to watch the full game. I can imagine how they play, because all his teams forever have all played similarly.
Yeah.
So I know that frustration. So
yeah.
Thoughts and prayers, my boy.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And with that being said, I'm gonna let you recap your great game with Texas went to Ann Arbor this past weekend.
You're
And
too kind, man.
modesty.
Modesty.
Hey, I mean, we're grown. Why not? You got to give credit where credit is due. We don't get to play our song this week. That's what happens. We got to win. But tell me about. I mean, obviously you wasn't there, but just tell me about the game, what you thought, what you saw.
I'll give it to you in stages, beginning, during, and after. Beginning, me, I'm a high confidence guy. I believed we were the better team. I believed we would win, but I also believe there's this world where you can create this atmosphere where teams will play out of their mind and play above their normal ability. So as heading into this game, seeing every, credible media source, minus Pat McAfee, not that I keep score, every credible media outlet say Texas is going to win, Texas is going to win. Rick Neuheisel on Fox Sports in the morning saying, not only is Texas going to win, they're going to whoop them. I said, oh Lord, if I'm Sharon Moore, I got a running reel all week of talking about Texas. And during, I knew we were a good team. Not only the insights available to the general public, I will occasionally get nuggets here or there, and I've watched them practice. So I knew we were a really good football team. But watching the game, to be able to block out the noise, to be able on those first two drives to deal with not third and regular long as in 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. There was a 3rd and 15, there was a 3rd and 13, there was 2 3rd and 10s, right? And to handle those and just be unflappable after that first drive where you turn not well, it's a turnover on downs essentially because you missed the field goal, and just proceed to stay locked in, stay engaged, and to use Rick Neuheisel's words, whoop them. I think that's the next stage. We always talk about, winning in stages where, you get to a point early in the program where it's close losses. Then those close losses go to close wins. Then those wins go to blowouts, right? And you've got to be able to sustain. So now my mind jumps all the way forward to, what's that, October the 19th, when the city of Austin is going to be on absolute fire.
I'm going to be in the house.
Really excited. I can't wait. You can't overlook anything.
Yeah.
I do think, and Steve Sarkisian would hate this, coaches would hate this because it's the quintessential rat poison. But you have gotten to a point in a program where you can accidentally beat UTSA, you can accidentally beat ULM because they just don't have the dogs, regardless of the scheme, regardless of any of that. They just don't have the dogs. You get to a Mississippi State, you probably can still accidentally beat them. You can never take the Oklahoma game lightly. I'm skipping over one. I think it's Kentucky, maybe. That's a harder game, but it's here. So I'm really excited, if you can't tell.
And then of course
about the season.
The end of the season game too, which...
Hey, I want to see what it's like in this new playoff world, because college football now, it was such an unintended consequence probably, but now you've created probably one of the greatest things in sports, where an elimination game, a game 3 or a game 7, where Texas and Georgia could potentially play 3 times this year.
Yeah, that's great.
Kansas and Utah, Kansas, Colorado, insert teams all across the country that could potentially play 3 times in a season, with different outcomes each of those games. It's so exciting. It's something so new for the sport. And I think we talked about last year and years prior, there was some anxiety about the playoff system and what it's going to do to college.
I think it's good. I think it looks good.
But college football still feels like
yes.
college football.
Yeah. And to add to that, and the things I don't like, I'm thinking about, and I know you're very superstitious, and I called you. We talked that day, and I said, "Give me a prediction." And you just ignored me. You ghosted me, But I did try to
send it. I tried to send it, and I'll give it to you. I'll tell you what my prediction was. My prediction was 20-17.
Okay.
So I did not predict. I did not predict a blowout. I thought in that 20-17 though, I thought it would be a low drama game. Right, where Texas probably was at 20-10 for a really long time, and then
and Michigan just finally wore down to get
kind of came at garbage time, which in reality their 12th point came in garbage time, on our 3rd string. But what you're seeing with this Texas team, again stealing a phrase from Rick Neuheisel, so argue with him, not with me. You're seeing where Steve Sarkisian is building, and I don't even want to call it in Alabama because he's building a team in a different way.
Yeah,
Alabama is always big and rugged and tough. Texas is big and fast.
Yeah,
they have real legitimate Olympic speed on this team. So that's going to be really, really, and it's deep. It's a deep team where you honestly, if I covered the names up on the back of the jersey and I just watched them play, there's out of the 22 that are on the field on offense or defense, I probably would only know when I'm dealing with my twos that maybe 2 or 3 positions. Right. So that's what you want as a program. So,
and they're definitely getting stretched in the depth at the running back position. They're having to show that depth, and they're showing up, So hats off to Coach Sark, man. But so this week, UTSA coming to town. Last time we played, but 2 years ago, I think we were at that game, 2022. And I mean, UTSA was, I mean, they were a good team, and I mean, they jumped on y'all and got after, had some trick plays, did some things. What do you look for, or what are you looking forward to this time around? I mean, it's obviously it's 2 years removed. It's a different UTSA. It's a different Texas. You know, same head coaches, so same philosophy, but just you've had some chances to grow your team and make it more of yours, quote unquote. You know.
Yeah, so I love you know, I'm a huge Jeff Traylor guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to the extent to where I said if, you know, things never worked out in the way that they have at Texas, he's a guy that, in, you know, being on the Texas staff, I've met him, I know him.
Yeah.
So, you know, huge fan of what he does, and, you know, stealing a little bit of the rat poison he dropped this week. You know, he said in that game, Texas was a program in transition. UTSA was really veteran. So they were able to come in and make the game competitive. And he said, you know, it's completely opposite this year, where UTSA
That's
is
a
a
very
team in transition.
respectful comment. Wow.
Texas is, and he went so far as to call Texas the best team they've ever played since he's been at UTSA. Which, if you look at who they've played, I would expect that to be true.
Conference wise, and Texas
This is
being
the
a
first
premier.
team they've played that has national championship aspirations.
Yeah.
Right. You've probably played teams that could win their conference, or hope to be in a maybe at most a New Year's Six bowl type scenario. But I don't think any of those teams ever had national championship aspirations or talent. So I look for in this game, how can your competition be the standard and not UTSA? Because in reality, no disrespect, but that shouldn't be any competition, right? It's not legitimate competition. I look for
on paper. Yeah, I mean, you still got to play because
you gotta go play the game. But
upsets every week. Yeah,
football is one of those rare sports where. And that's why the Appalachian State going to beat A&M in A&M while also taking home millions. That's why NIU going to beat Notre Dame. That's why these things live in infamy forever and ever, because it just really doesn't happen in college football that much. College basketball, a whole different story.
Yeah.
You can you can outcoach somebody and still win the game. In football, I see coaches outcoach the guy on the other side and still lose, and sometimes still lose by a wide margin, just because I don't have the dogs. Not only do I not have the dogs, I don't have the depth. I don't have a lot of other things. So
not X's and O's, Jimmy and Joe's. That's
I look for, can Arch Manning play with 8+ minutes left in the third quarter? Are we seeing, multiple receivers with touchdowns? Does the running back that they signed late in the transfer portal, does he play? Right? Are we getting meaningful reps for these kids that otherwise would not play, but we may need them in a crunch time game against Oklahoma or down the stretch against Florida toward the end of the season? So can you start to develop that? Is the culture to that point where you're the competition, not UTSA?
Well put. And you dropped the nugget right there. Shout out to NIU, Northern Illinois. Them boys are now in the top 25, coming in at 25. But who is not in the top 25 anymore is my Kansas Jayhawks. So I'm going to talk about the Illinois game, man. And it was a game where I wasn't really worried. I knew Illinois would have revenge on their mind. I knew it's Big Ten, so it's not a slouch by no means. Their quarterback is in their second year, but I mean, man, we made it as hard as we could this game. And I mean, if you look at, I know you're a stat guy, you're a numbers guy, from real life to video game. If you look at the numbers, we had more first downs, we had more total yards, we had more. They had more passing by 50, and we outrushed them by over 100 yards. But the stat that is the most revealing is 4 turnovers to 1. And in Power 4 now, you're playing any Power 4 team, man. I mean, it's going to be hard to win a game turning the ball over 4 times. And I mean, we threw 3 interceptions, not under pressure, not under duress, not like, it's just, at times bad mechanics. And let me tell you something, I'm a JD6 fan for life. I saw our interview and he owned every bit of that loss, man, like a true leader should. He said he wished he could have some throws back. He would do some things differently. And of course, people say, well, of course you say that now, but that's not as easy as you think, to be in front of a bunch of
At all.
people owning that. It's on me that we didn't take care of business. I'm the leader. I should be out there by example. And there's some things that I did that cost us the game, man. Now,
So let me ask you, as somebody who didn't get a chance to watch the full game, I know you did. When you look back on some of those turnovers, what do you feel like he was pressing? Do you feel like
yes,
Illinois
yeah.
confused him? Do
No,
you
I feel
feel
like he
like
was pressing and it was bad mechanics. Because if you look at some of these interceptions, the one he threw, he underthrew it. We had a guy behind him. He underthrew it, but he threw it off his back foot. If you know ball, that ball's going to sail and it's going to take a little more time in the air. He had one over the middle where maybe he was a little late and he saw it and he felt he was late and he tried to just hurry up and get out of his hand. And the guy came underneath it. And we got receivers behind those guys. So like it's very fixable things. It's very correctable things. It's nothing that makes me say, oh my God, we don't have a quarterback. At the end of the day, he is still our best option. He is still going to lead us to successful season, man. But I mean, just like, and it's not all on him. We had 3 possessions where we were in our own, we ended up in Illinois territory and we only came away with 3 points. Then we go and march down 2 back-to-back 80-yard plus drives and get touchdowns out of them. So I don't understand, but that's football and that's the way it is. You don't plan these things out. Shout out to our defense, man. They only gave up 1 touchdown.
and that's the growth. I'll
Yeah.
do something I never do and put a cape on for Kansas slightly in new offensive coordinator, kind of new scheme. But that's the growth of a program where, you'll get really good in one area, but maybe regress in some others and still have a chance.
Yeah.
Most teams turn the ball over 4 times. It's a blowout.
Yeah, no
Right.
doubt.
Going away.
Yeah.
So
And still had a chance to win at the end of it. Had the ball at the end of the game.
and that's what I didn't want to say. I didn't want that to feel like I was digging in a little bit, but that to turn the ball over 4 times against a Power 4 team on the road,
yes,
and still have a chance. I'm still really big on Kansas having everything in front of them. We'll talk about maybe some of the barriers and the Utah Utes and.
Well, it's early. It's
Apple,
early.
but
No, we'll be just fine. And like you mentioned the new OC, Coach Grimes, which I'm very excited about, man. I mean, I'm high on him. He came in, he talked about learning these kids' terminology. Rather than being, I'm the OC, this is what I want to run. He came in, and it's a different situation where it's just the OC and maybe 1 or 2 guys, and not an analyst or position guy that they're bringing in. And he's bringing his philosophy and he's the guy calling it. But you've got a veteran offense. You've got an offense that's been rolling for the last 2 years. You want to keep that going. So he said, put, them than me, let me learn, terminology. So so marrying the philosophy and these kids and the style is going to take a little more time, so I have no worries about it, man. We're moving on, man. And speaking of, revenge, we've got another quote unquote revenge game, coming to town. We're going to be at home. We've got UNLV coming to town with the big old go-go offense. Coach Marion, who's very innovative. I spoke with Brandon McAnderson, who has his own podcast. And I talked about if I became an offensive coordinator again, I'm definitely putting some of them concepts in. Eric knows as well. I run it on him in NCAA with my custom playbook. But no, we've got you
unsuccessfully, but I understand.
Whatever. Anyway, we got UNLV coming to town. They lost their quarterback. I think he transferred to USC, but they got a transfer from Holy Cross, a smaller school. But this kid, last name Sluka, he fits well, man. He makes them go. I don't really see a letdown. They beat Houston, who was a conference opponent, and they beat them handily. They jumped on them, man, and got some stops, got some transfers on defense. Played Utah Tech last week. Racked up about 695 yards of total offense. So now they're at an average of 501 yards per game, which is a little misleading, So it is what it is. But our Jayhawks are only giving up maybe 78 on the ground, 150 in the air. So I'm looking for our guys to bounce back and really have a good showing at KC Sporting Stadium, this Friday. I'm excited, man. Our defense, Marvin Grant, Cornell Wheeler. These guys are really getting after it on defense, man. And
What I'm excited about, and I just talked about the growth of the Jayhawk program, and this is the kind of game that will tell you, because the go-go offense, for as good as it is, I would say it's a bit schemy. It's a little gimmicky
mm-hmm.
in the way that a triple option is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where
Mm-hmm.
if you can't stop the basics,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you can't stop the run up the middle, if you can't stop the outside sweep, if you can't stop the basics, you are in for one hell of a day.
Yeah.
But if you can, it starts to knock down, some of those pegs in that offense, and makes it a little more singularly dimensional, which gives you a better chance in the end. So I'm really excited to see the growth of the Kansas program, to see how many of those things, Kansas can actually go and do. So really, really excited. But to your point, Coach Marion he's a thinker.
And yeah, I talked with Brandon McAnderson on the booth review, and same thing you talked about UNLV's offense. I think, with them having to play Illinois last week, which was, really more ground and pound, get under center and really pound you. Everybody in the Big 12 is a passing league spread concept. So besides them having that, what I call sidecar, two running backs on each side formation, it's still zone spread principles, RPOs, things like that. So that's a little more familiar, because they see it every day with our offense. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I'll tell you this: we got to stop 21. That 21 is the Jesus. He is a dynamic guy, and like I say, I said it on McAnderson's show. He's got a special place in my heart because he's 5'7", 175, 80 pounds, and he goes. I mean, he returns kicks, he plays the slot, he plays running back. I mean, good player, man. So I look forward to that, man. I guess that's a wrap on the recaps. Real quick, we're going to get to predictions in a moment. Right now, we got some Chalk Talk coming up. Check it out. Let's talk about a play that's been pretty popular earlier this season and a lot last season, especially for Texas. Some people even call it the Sark screen. It's a throwback screen, tailback screen. Let's check it out. So what we got here, let's go with the blocking first. We'll have this guy come up, seal anything that's trying to run out, could run the screen this way. Here, we're going to set, go block the contain guy. We're going to pull with this guy. You'll see in a second. We're going to set and go run the alley, okay? We're going to set, and he's going to run, and he's going to peel back on anything that may have leaked through from here. This guy's going to get up here, maybe get a safety, see if we get lucky. Same thing here. We'll just run this guy off. Okay, the action in the backfield here. We got orbit, high motion, whatever you want to call it. We're here. Ball snap, quarterback catches, half rolls, back seeps through, sets up right here, turns back, quarterback half rolls, got his personal protector right here, looks back, throw it. We've got some action going here. See what happens. As a play that's been popular. Some people call it Sark screen, but it's tailback, throwback screen. There's other variations that you can get off of this. For instance, let's draw the same thing. Here we go. Uh-oh. Got the marker going out. cut the Z split down. Still got the X, Q, B. All right. Same action. We can come here, fake it. We can run an option out of it right here. Z option out of it. Okay. Same action. I'm not going to waste time drawing it back up. Here, we can run him a little wider as we run the action. Quarterback runs, sets up. We can run routes here. Rail this guy up the pipe. We can run something here. Just any variation. That's 3 quick plays that you could run: the screen, the zone run, a zone option, and even option pass off of that. All right, so that's a quick chalk talk on the Stark screen. All right, hope you enjoyed that chalk talk. Now we're gonna get into some predictions, man. We're gonna always probably pick both games, but for the first show, since we're in 2 different conferences now, we're gonna go ahead and just stick to our own right here, man. We're not gonna go through it. So these are our game picks for at least conference play in the Big 12 and SEC, and we'll talk about a game that stands out to each of us. Now, talking to Eric earlier, I asked about his picks. I don't know if he did it on purpose, but I did it on purpose, and I left off the Tulane, Oklahoma. Whether he just doesn't respect Oklahoma to even give me a pick about Oklahoma because he didn't give me a pick, or it was an oversight.
I did give you a pick.
I didn't see it. Okay, so who do you have?
I picked Tulane. I'll tell you, I'll not biased at all. I'll get to it, but no, I certainly think they have enough. I think they're pissed. They had to give up a home game last year because of the hurricane and had to play in Oklahoma, or a year before. I don't remember which. Mm-hmm. But Oklahoma just cannot score the football. So whenever you're playing a team that can score versus a team that cannot, you've got a shot. That same Houston team that almost lost to UNLV took Oklahoma to the wire.
Did you see?
In Norman, right? Yeah. So very much a place they historically don't lose and don't play very many close games. So I'm absolutely excited about that and what I think. And that outcome doesn't I went back and double checked. I definitely gave you the Tulane pick. But that outcome, doesn't even excite me. I wish I could pick Oklahoma, and I hope to be wrong, because there is nothing more fun than being in Dallas, Texas for the Cotton Bowl when both teams are undefeated, and that game means
no doubt
as much as it possibly could. And Oklahoma has, just cutting it even a slice in a different way. Oklahoma has an incredibly tough schedule. Mm-hmm. So they can't afford a loss to Tulane when you're looking at a Texas team that most people in the country would tell you is better. You've got to play Georgia. You've got to play Tennessee. I believe they also even have to play Alabama. So they got it. and it's going to be night in, night out, for a team that can't score the ball against a non-power 4 team, or I'm sorry, now they're a power 4 team with Houston in the Big 12. I think that's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't think it'll be a big deal. I don't think you'll see people making a huge fuss about it.
You never know. And this is the thing, I touch on that, and this was a little comforting for me as well. I was watching college football final, and Joy Galloway was talking about, if your team has a loss, don't panic. It's 12 teams going to get in. There's different formats and scenarios in which you can get in. It doesn't have to just be you went out, So, that is a breath of fresh air for a Kansas fan, Kansas alum, but it's not over. So, even if, one loss, it doesn't sink you. Yeah, it puts you in a different position, depending on what conference you're in, depending on.
I was like, all losses aren't the same, because Oklahoma lost to Tulane. There is no world where, because you can't beat Tulane, you can't. I don't believe.
Right, but it just depends. It depends, like you say, if Tulane all of a sudden has the season that they had a couple years ago when they beat USC in the Sugar Bowl or Cotton Bowl. But I don't know. I don't know.
They've already got a loss, so we already know it's not that.
I know, but I'm still on the fence though, because take your Texas-Michigan game. At the moment, at the time, the build-up.
Well, that's what I said. All losses to me. I know, but all losses aren't the same, because you don't have, while there's no transference really from, oh, if I beat this team and this team beat that team, then I beat them. No, not so much from that perspective. But if you are an Oklahoma team that for whatever reason, insert your problem, I got my own, right? But insert your problem for why you can't beat Tulane. There is no world where you fix that problem to then go and beat Texas and Dallas, to then go and beat Alabama, to then go and beat Georgia, which you've got to win 2 of those 3 games to still stay in the conversation, because at 3 losses, there's no world, right?
3. Yeah, 3.
That's why I say all losses aren't equal. Oklahoma could win and lose to Texas, or lose to Alabama, or lose to Georgia, and still maybe even 2 of those 3 games and still be in that conversation. But a loss to Tulane pretty much puts you away, because you don't go and do all those other things.
Well, it just, and that's what I say, I'm on the fence, because it depends on what, not necessarily resume, but just wins talk. So like, y'all beat Michigan, and that was like big game of the week that, propelled them in some polls to be number 1. But if Michigan goes on to lose 5-6 games, to me, and I'm not a Texas fan, but to me, that shouldn't have any hindrance on what we did in week 1 or 2 against the team that was built up to be what they were. Like, it just, I don't know. I understand some teams are like, oh, they wasn't good anyway. But
it's like, I've been on both sides of this as a Texas fan. And
because like if NIU wins out, their staple program win is
right.
Notre Dame, and they're going to
matters
get propelled,
from a conversational perspective. More. But being on both sides of this, I've been a Texas fan in 2012 when we beat Notre Dame and Texas was back, right? Yeah. I've been there. Yeah. I've also been there last year, where you go into Tuscaloosa and hand Alabama their worst non-conference home loss of the Saban era. But that Alabama team goes on to also win the SEC and make the playoff. So, some wins you can, some wins you can't. If Michigan goes on, if that too, but if Michigan goes on to lose 2-3 Big Ten games, that game didn't mean anything.
Yeah, it's tough because
it wouldn't save you, right? It would not save.
You're right, Texas, because you can only control what you can control, and that's what's in your clubhouse. And that's tough.
I love that part of it, because that's a feather in the cap for Steve Sarkisian and the coaching staff, is to say, great win, wash it, move on, because they're not Alabama.
Yeah. But I wouldn't want that to be diminished, though. Nothing. I wouldn't want that to be diminished, because let me tell you something, man. Winning is hard. And from maybe a fan's point of view, oh, they wasn't there to get away. But you don't know. You wasn't in prepping. Maybe Texas just made them look that bad, and maybe Texas beats them 2 or 3 more times. I mean,
this season metaphorically,
But we could talk more about it, in the future. But yeah, so what's your prediction for you boys this week? I mean, I think UTSA is a well-coached team, but give me your prediction on Texas UTSA.
Well-coached team. They'll play much better than Jeff Traylor gives them credit for. I think there was a little bit of a pre-hangover for them. I think they were looking past Texas State to their detriment and got absolutely dump trucked.
Is good this year.
Absolutely got dump trucked. But that to say, I don't care what anybody says. If you're a UTSA, if you're most teams in the country, not Alabama, not Georgia, beating Texas saves your season. I don't care what has happened before and what goes on to happen after.
100%.
Beating Texas saves your season. So I fully expect to get UTSA's best punch. Just ends up not being anything. Right, yeah. I can give Rampage Jackson my best punch. It's not going to mean anything, though.
Well, we'll be there in person, man. I can't wait.
I'm excited.
Night game. Eric's big on this orange smoke and all these lights and all this hoopla Texas has. I'm not going to hate it. It's a nice setup, which makes me even more excited for what's happening in Lawrence. Even though we're not playing any home games, we've got a new stadium on the come up, dude. You hate the arrogance. See, that's why it's so hard.
You know what? It's not arrogance, but it reminds me of One of you comparing the two kind of reminds me of
Here
maybe
we
one of
go.
Cat Williams' best jokes.
Here we go.
A Chrysler 300 looks like a Phantom until a Phantom pulls up.
We got money
Uh,
too. We got money too. Hey,
well,
Texas is where it's
it's
at, but
not the
it's
same.
nevertheless. Give me.
Texas will win in basketball before Kansas wins in football. I'll tell you that.
Oh, that's a challenge. I'll take that. I'll take
We
that.
will get to a Final Four in basketball
Before we get to a Final
Kansas gets
Four,
to a playoff in football.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
You
Straight
got
face, punks. Anyway, you give me your score. Disrespect is just.
I don't even know if I came up with one. Sark and Jeff Traylor actually enjoy each other. So I think you stop throwing the ball probably at the end of the third quarter. I'm probably looking at 52-14.
Well, there you have it, 52-14. I'm gonna, because I don't, I love my Jayhawks, and Texas is what it is. But we've got UNLV coming to the KC Sporting Stadium, which is our home stadium for this year. Different teams. I know last year we almost put up over 500 yards passing. Different teams, but we got our top 3 receivers back. We got a quarterback back. We've got an O-line that's experienced, 9 returners on offense. We've got 2 running backs who have at times been deemed one of the top running back duos in the nation. So I expect for us to put numbers up to get back to where we were offensively. Defense, keep doing what we're doing, baby. Our defense is playing. They're playing lights out. You look at numbers. You look at what guys are doing, individually, the depth that we're creating on the defensive line, our safety, Grant, he's playing one play at linebacker, he's playing one play at safety. Coach Borland, DC, is doing a hell of a job of just moving things around, keeping things multiple, man. So I look for the Jayhawks to put up big numbers. I'm looking at about 38 points, 38. And, we do a good enough job. I think we're going to, prepare for this go-go. I give them 28. I think 38-28 would be the score. Kansas wins. What do you think?
Double digits is that's approaching blowout territory almost, because 3 scores is a blowout. I don't care what nobody says.
Yeah. Ebb and flow.
I
different
look
games.
but
they can score. They can score.
Yeah, I don't know that the defensive numbers match up as much, because you're dealing with an Illinois team that's not throwing the ball 40 times. You're dealing with teams that didn't have this kind of speed, these kinds of concepts that you'll never, again, back to the whole thing around the triple option, you don't ever see this anywhere else. You cannot simulate it in practice. So you really just have to see how the guys go.
It's tough on both sides.
Yeah, I'll probably take UNLV by 7. I don't know. I'll take the over. I don't even know what it is, but I take it. I take the over. I take UNLV by 7. I think Barry Odom is a really good coach. That cover 3, that cover 3 stuff, sorry, is gonna give. I think it's gonna give Jaden Daniels fits, because I've seen it give really good quarterbacks, Quinn Ewers being one of them. I've seen it give really good quarterbacks fits before. So if you guys can't run the ball, Devin Neal has to have a monster day. I'll give you one stat that will tell me immediately, without watching the game, if you guys win or not, how many rushing yards you have. If that number's over 175, Kansas wins.
Okay.
If that number's 150, it's kind of a coin flip. Anything under that means you guys threw the ball a lot against a defense that's naturally going to be stronger against the pass than against the run. So that's going to tell me the game probably got away.
Well, we all have our perspectives, but I agree. We've got a running back that's 550 yards away from being the all-time Kansas rushing leader. So, with some of the names on that list, Gale Sayers, John Riggins, that's a big feat. And like I said earlier, that's not what's important, but that just gives you an indication of what he's done production-wise and what he's done in the Big 12. And, like I say, these first 2 games, man, Lindenwood, it was kind of the same thing for Utah Tech, for UNLV. They're misleading the numbers, because we only played our starters the first half, but they racked up almost 700 yards of offense. So this is going to be, I think, the first, real test of like spread on spread, passing league stuff. But I'm concerned about is the Jayhawks, and I think we're going to get after it. UNLV is a very well coached team. They're a good team. They're a bowl team, just like we were, obviously. So it's not like, it's a Mountain West team that's just, So I mean, they're good, man, and they already beat the Big 12.
TCU was a Mountain West team for a very long time, and nobody ever wanted to see them come knocking on their door. So
you're right.
No, I'm excited. I want to see if a team can impose their will.
And I'm glad we play on Friday, so I can relax on Saturday and let everybody else play, as long as we take care of business.
I was about to say, I actually didn't even realize y'all played on Friday, so I'm not going to switch my pick, but I will move from being neutral and agnostic to actually hoping that you guys win on Friday, because if not, you're going to be miserable on Saturday.
Oh yeah,
you call me and say, "Man, I ain't going to get it."
You're right. You're right. I've got no shame in it. Oh, you gave up a UT? I don't give it, boy. It's a family show. But man, great first show, man. I appreciate you, getting back with me this year, man. I'm looking forward to different takes and things we got coming up, different things we're gonna throw in here. I appreciate y'all. I hope y'all like the episode. Subscribe. We're rolling this year, baby. And as always, man, I appreciate everything. Rock chalk.
Praise the Lord and hook 'em horns.
I would see y'all next week.
Hey, see y'all from Texas.